Disturbing footage of Muslim kids saying they would sacrifice themselves and kill for the army of Allah surfaced from an Islamic center in Philadelphia. The Muslim American Society Islamic Center in Philadelphia posted the video to its Facebook page celebrating Ummah Day, in which young children wearing Palestinian scarves sang and read poetry about killing for Allah in the mosque in Jerusalem. In the video, kids can be heard singing, "The land of the Prophet Muhammad's night journey is calling us. Our Palestine must return to us. We will defend the land of divine guidance with our bodies, and we will sacrifice our souls without hesitation." A second girl says, "We will chop off their heads, and we will liberate the sorrowful and exalted Al-Aqsa Mosque. We will lead the army of Allah, fulfilling His promise, and we will subject them to eternal torture." The Muslim American Society is a non-profit organization founded in 1993 and headquartered in Falls Church, Virginia. Muslim American Society describes itself as an Islamic revival and reform movement. The Muslim American Society has been designated as a terrorist organization by the United Arab Emirates. According to its website, the society is a dynamic, charitable, religious, social, cultural, and educational organization with over 50 chapters across the United States. Over the past 2 decades, the organization has evolved into a nationally recognized grassroots movement that strives to promote active involvement of U.S. Muslims in communities across the U.S. The Muslim American Society was created by the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States after a debate among Muslim Brotherhood members in the U.S. about whether to remain underground or to have a public face. The Muslim American Society has instructed its members to evade questions about the group's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and to define jihad as a divine legal right of Muslims to be used for defense and the spread of Islam. In 1991, the FBI raided the Muslim Brotherhood's safe house and found an internal memo and manifesto of the Muslim Brotherhood's goals and mission in North America. In the memo it read, "The process of settlement is a civilization, jihadist process, with all the word means. The Ikhwan must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to the challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is a Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is, wherever he lands until the final hour comes, and there is no escape from that destiny." Meanwhile, MSNBC experts warn against Trump designating Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. A real concern here is this designation is also a smokescreen to essentially attack the American Muslim community, according to an expert. White House officials are weighing whether to designate the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization, a move experts warn would make the United States less safe and end up victimizing American Muslims to curry favor with authoritarian allies. That's a bad idea, warn U.S. experts in Middle Eastern politics and security. To start with, they say, cracking down on the Brotherhood would put unfair pressure on Muslims in the U.S., and the vast majority of whom are not members. According to Shadi Hamid, a senior fellow at the Center for Middle East Policy at the Brookings Institution, a Washington think tank, the move would empower dangerous theories that describe Islam as antithetical to U.S. culture. Because it is antithetical to U.S. culture. According to just released survey of Muslims, a majority, 51%, agreed that Muslims in America should have the choice of being governed according to Sharia law. More than half, 51% of U.S. Muslims polled also believe either that they should have the choice of American or Sharia courts, or that they should have their own tribunals to apply Sharia. Only 39% of those polled said Muslims in the U.S. should be subject to American courts. Even more troubling is the fact that nearly a quarter of the Muslims polled believe that it is legitimate to use violence to punish those who give offense to Islam, by example portraying the Prophet Muhammad. Nearly 1/5 of Muslim respondents said that the use of violence in the United States is justified in order to make Sharia the law of the land in this country. Center for Security Policy President Frank Gaffney Jr. observed, "The findings of the Center for Security Policy Survey of Muslims in America suggest that we have a serious problem. The Pew Research Center estimates that the number of Muslims in the United States was 2.75 million in 2011 and growing at a rate of 80 to 90,000 a year. If those estimates are accurate, the United States would have approximately 3 million Muslims today. That would translate into roughly 300,000 Muslims living in the United States who believe that Sharia is the Muslim God Allah's law and that Muslims must follow and impose worldwide by jihad." Back to the NBC article. That's because in many countries, the Muslim Brotherhood specifically has a diffuse international network that openly runs a huge array of hospitals, kindergartens, schools, and other charities, she said. "It is very normal for them to be fundraising among the well-heeled Muslim immigrants abroad," Jonah added, "not for terrorism, for legitimate charitable work. And targeting Muslims in the US for links to Islamic charities abroad would undermine the presence that American officials do not discriminate against Muslims, who make up less than 2% of the population. You hear that? Well, we've seen what they teach the children in schools and kindergartens. And those charities you speak of are all fronts to launder money for their global jihad initiatives. A significant number of advertisers in the Muslim American Society publication, The American Muslim, which often contain references to suicide bombings as martyr operations, were later uncovered by the US authorities to be involved in terror financing. It is worth mentioning these in particular. 1. Global Relief Foundation, which had its assets frozen in 2002 for providing funding to Al-Qaeda. 2. Kind Hearts for Charitable Humanitarian Development, which US authorities qualified as the progeny of Holy Land Foundation and Global Relief Foundation, which attempted to mask their support for terrorism behind the facade of charitable giving. And 3. Islamic African Relief Agency, now the Islamic American Relief Agency, which the US Treasury qualified as a specifically designated global terrorist organization for its support of Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in 2004. The NBC article ends with, "Days before he was murdered in the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul, Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi also made an impassioned argument for the US not to marginalize the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamists. There can be no political reform and democracy in any Arab country without accepting that political Islam is a part of it," he wrote. "It seems clear then that the only way to prevent political Islam from playing a role in Arab politics is to abolish democracy, which essentially deprives citizens of their right to choose their political representatives." They forgot the part in their article where Khashoggi was friends with Osama bin Laden. That's right, the guy who Turkey killed that the media wouldn't shut up about because Trump didn't run to his aid was a sympathizer of Al-Qaeda. So this organization, the Muslim American Society, which just had children singing about beheading the infidels in our own communities, was not only founded by the organization, the Muslim Brotherhood, who sent Muslims to America to destroy it from within and set up shell organizations as fronts, but also sent money itself to terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda, the cell responsible for September 11th, and they do it under the guise of charitable contributions. Where is the outrage? Why does the mainstream media not talk about this? Why does the left insist on calling anyone who asks this question an Islamophobe? Why are we the ones that have to be on the defense, while our enemies use our country and our freedom of religion and speech against us, to destroy us from within? If our government doesn't do something to stop it, we the people must take the actions into our own hands. We must drive our enemies from our homeland ourselves, and those who protected them and shielded them from questioning while they poisoned our communities and killed our brothers and sisters will be held just as accountable. Not just the politicians, but the journalists and the experts as well. Do you see where the loyalties of the elite really lie? Because it's not with you, the American people. Usque ad finem.